What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Thomas Take Sports Podcast. Just wanted to return tonight to talk about the 2017 NFL Draft. Obviously, I did a lot of live coverage on Facebook. If you haven't checked that out, you could friend me on Facebook. Feel free, just don't be creepy. 2017 was a very interesting NFL Draft, one that will go down in history as one of the most shocking drafts, I think, in recent memory. And it seems like as the years have gone on, the draft has been more and more interesting as the years have gone on. And I really anticipated that it would be an interesting draft, but not in the way that it was. 3 trade-ups for 3 quarterbacks. The order in which those quarterbacks were off the board was truly just shocking, to say the least. I didn't anticipate that would be the case. It would go Trubisky, Mahomes, and then Watson. But I wanted to read my write-up on the 2017 NFL Draft. You can get it at the Thomas Take Sports Podcast Facebook page. The 2017 NFL Draft write-up by Ryan Thomas, host of the Thomas Take Sports Podcast, of course. I wrote that the 2017 draft, the shock of the 2017 NFL Draft is, of course, the Chicago Bears trading up one selection with the 49ers to take UNC quarterback Mitchell Trubisky. I am not even shocked that they took a quarterback. I am more stunned that the Bears selected Trubisky over Watson. This could be something that the fans of Chicago will wonder why for many years to come. Also, Kansas City trading up for Pat Mahomes. I do believe Mahomes is a real talent, but he is a project in the NFL at this point, whereas Watson was more of a surefire bet to start sooner than Mahomes will. The one man with the most, quote, haters heading into the draft was 49ers GM John Lynch. Most sports writers, not myself, thought that John Lynch couldn't do the job. Well, if you can't tell now that he can, you really are a hater. John Lynch showed up in his first NFL draft, netting the 49ers not one but 2 defensive cornerstone players in Stanford, defensive end Solomon Thomas at 3rd overall, and Alabama linebacker Reuben Foster at 31st overall. John Lynch is waking up every morning and telling Ryan Pace, the GM of the Chicago Bears, thank you. Few other shocks in the first round were the Titans choosing Corey Davis over Mike Williams, when it was widely reported across NFL circles that Mike Williams was the number 1 wideout on the Titans board. I personally think that Davis is better. Davis is more versatile. He can run every route, and he should make for a great weapon for a quarterback that I personally feel is one of the quarterbacks that I refer to as the future of the NFL in Marcus Mariota. My oh no moment of the 2017 NFL Draft, sitting at the 6th overall pick, the New York Jets selected LSU safety Jamal Adams. I wanted to cry. Not literally, but figuratively. Adams is going to be a star defensive player in this league. He tackles just as well as Eric Berry, the all-pro safety for the Kansas City Chiefs, and he can cover a wide range in a short amount of time. As a Bills backer, it will be tough. It will be a tough test to go up against that guy from the get-go week 1. Adams will make a huge difference to the New York Jets defense. The steal of the 2017 NFL Draft, FSU running back Dalvin Cook. In case you don't know, FSU stands for Florida State University. I had Dalvin in the top 2 of a loaded running back class right behind the 4th overall pick and new Jacksonville Jaguars running back Leonard Fournette. Cook reminds me of Devonta Freeman mixed with Jamal Charles. I guess the character concern reports, along with the injury concern reports, were really real after all. As Cook slipped all the way down to the 2nd round, 41st overall selection to the Minnesota Vikings. This is a very interesting fit, being that Minnesota added former Raider Latavius Murray, a running back, was not on my mind for Minnesota, but clearly the Vikings brass couldn't resist the ability of the most electric back in the class, which is very high praise coming from myself. This class was loaded. Once fully healthy, I think it will be very hard to deny Cook as the running back 1 spot on the Vikings depth chart. A great pick and a great heir to Adrian Peterson. The Cleveland Browns The Cleveland Browns were the biggest story heading into this draft, and it wasn't even close in my eyes. The Browns held so many picks that most analysts could not predict what they would take one after the next. Cleveland has embraced this model of adding as many picks as possible, even willing to take on the $16 million cap hit of the once thought of savior Brock Osweiler. I came away very impressed with Cleveland's draft, and to be honest, I had very high expectations going in with Paul DePodesta running the show. A very smart dollars and cents innovator in the sport of baseball, DePodesta has a point to prove in the NFL, and he is proving it. Let's start with the obvious. Myles Garrett was the number one player in this draft, bar none. I think Garrett will definitely be an immediate difference maker for a Browns defense that, yes, they do have some weapons on defense, starting with Joe Hayden, Jamie Collins, and Danny Shelton. Garrett will hopefully take the Browns defense to the next level sooner rather than later. Jabril Peppers with the 25th overall pick was an interesting move. Some analysts did not consider Peppers a first-round pick. I did. Any player that you can put in different positions and use in different ways and has proven to do this successfully on defense and offense is a guy that I like. Peppers does not have a natural position. I think he will slot in for Cleveland at safety. What we could see from Peppers is a healthy dose of time on both sides of the ball, for Cleveland, much like Terrell Pryor last year on offense. I would not be shocked in the slightest if we witnessed Jabril Peppers lining up at running back for the Cleveland Browns in 2017. It would be really interesting to see how the Browns use this polarizing talent. Miami Hurricane tight end David Njoku was a solid pick as well for a Browns team looking for receiving weapons. He is one. It could take him a bit of time to get into the swing of things for sure, but once he does, it would be a great target for the future. But who will be throwing to him? If I was running the show in Cleveland, I would recognize that the newest quarterback in the room, Notre Dame's DeShone Kizer, is not pro-ready. He really needs to sit and learn. Being that you sat on a $16 million deal for Osweiler for a second-round pick, why not throw him out there? This guy is already at the rock-bottom part of his career. He went from being a savior to being an outcast. I say throw him out there, plug him in, let's see what he can do with his back against the wall. If he is as horrible as he looked in 2016 to start the first 5 games of the season, then throw Cody Kessler back out there. No harm, no foul. Thank you for reading. So that was my write-up on the 2017 NFL Draft. Did one last year. It was very well received. I wanted to do another. I wanted to read it to you guys in case you haven't liked the Facebook page. I really hope you guys enjoyed that. You know, this draft was really unique, and I agree with everything I said because I wrote it. But obviously, there's different layers to the draft as well that I really appreciated this year, that I really enjoyed witnessing. O.J. Howard going 19th overall. That was a guy that I thought would be a top 10 player. It's really hard for a team to go that high on a tight end, but he was such a unique specimen. Physically, one of the top-notch guys in this draft on both sides of the ball. And I really anticipated that he would go in the top 10, but the fact that he didn't really shock me. It's more so he didn't go in the top 15. There were teams in there that I thought would take a chance on him, take a flyer on him, teams that didn't, and that was the case. And for him to fall at 19 to Tampa Bay, I think that's a great fit for him. I mean, that Tampa Bay offense, you got Mike Evans, O.J. Howard, Doug Martin, Marcus Mariota, Deshaun Jackson. So that offense is going to be much, much better. Jameis Winston, in terms of fantasy-wise, would be an interesting starting quarterback in 2017. He really turned it on towards the end of the year last year, and decent parts last year. And I really liked what he brought to the table. So I think O.J. Howard was an interesting pick. Malik Hooker was an interesting pick. He fell a little bit to Indy, I believe, at 15. Derek Barnett, the rookie for the Philadelphia Eagles from Tennessee, I really like a lot. And Jonathan Allen. Jonathan Allen falling to 17th overall. That was a guy that I thought would be a top 7 pick at worst. And he slid because of the shoulder injury. So there were some guys that were really in free fall in this first round of the 2017 NFL Draft. Dalvin Cook, as I said, the steal of the draft, falling all the way to 41st. And then obviously an interesting story to say the least. Chad Kelly being Mr. Irrelevant, the final pick, 253 of the 2017 NFL Draft. I think this is going to be good for him. I don't know what he's going to bring to the table as far as the competition goes. You have Trevor Siemian, who I really like. He really showed up big. He was pick number 250 at one point, and I think that was in 2013. Maybe it was later than that. I'd have to look that up. But then you have Paxton Lynch, who was the first-round pick last year out of Memphis, a 6'8 quarterback with a cannon. So it'll be really interesting to see how that quarterback competition shapes up. I don't even know if Chad Kelly will be able to play his first season in the NFL, be able to even dress, being that he has this pretty bad wrist injury. So it'll be really interesting to see what happens with him. In case you have not tuned into my show already, and this is the first time that you're ever listening to it, I wanted to plug the fact that I am Ryan Thomas from Buffalo, New York, born and raised in a little town called Lockport, New York, and I've been a sports writer for the past, let's just say 3 to 5 years, and I've been trying to grow my brand as far as the Thomas Take and myself and putting myself out there, really trying to make this a reality. And it is a reality for sure. There's been tons and tons of opportunities that have been thrown my way that have been really awesome, that have given me a platform to put my content out there and have people listen to my take on all things Buffalo Bills and much, 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 much more in the wide world of sports. But really, that's how it started. This started out as a basically rant podcast for me to put out my opinions, and sometimes there is some ranting and raving. Of course, before Doug Whaley was fired, I was ranting and raving about him for quite some time. Mm-hmm. But I really enjoyed just going out there and putting content out there for people to listen to. So Dean Degner commented on the previous take of the Thomas Take, Russ Brandon fake news. He said, I do believe Brandon has some good qualities, as you mentioned, but as far as president of Bills football, doesn't have the key factors to build a team. Terry has to see that, and again, I agree that as a businessman, he needs some experience backing major decisions, especially from a financial standpoint. If keeping Russ Brandon is something that Pegula is intent upon, shouldn't it be more of an advisory role? President of any professional sports team should provide contributions to personnel operations as well as finances. Understandable if the structure of the organization calls for something different, but the Bills don't have enough structure to be one of those teams. I'm not the owner nor a staff member, but from my perspective, we need valuable experience in all operations across the organization. Terry seems to be on track with finding that value with the coaching hirings. I just hope the same is done for our front office now. That was very interesting, to say the least. For Dean to write that. Very well written, by the way, as well. In terms of Russ Brandon, I think Terry needs him right now because there's really nobody else around. As I said that kind of earlier, but I think that they will bring in a football czar, so to speak, a guy that might be younger than people originally felt, but a guy like Sean McDermott who has spent 20 years in the NFL that is, pushing his mid-50s, maybe early 50s, maybe late 40s. The younger executives are the way to go right now. The old guard is kind of passed on. The Bill Polians and the Ron Wolfs of the world. Those guys are not involved anymore. They've had their time. Now it's kind of like a new league, a new blood, and they're trying to give someone an opportunity that they feel deserves it. And it's going to be their first opportunity. I really feel like they're going to bring in a rookie GM again with maybe a vice president of football ops brought in, much like Terry did with the Sabres when he brought in Pat LaFontaine, which I thought was a fantastic move. I loved it. I was really hoping that LaFontaine would be here for a long time. And that was not the case, of course. So hopefully they do bring in somebody that has some sort of knowledge of the game along with the GM. That would be pretty cool. And I really do think that Russ Brandon is only working in an advisory role. So, it's not going to be that much of a say in the matter. He's not going to have that much say in the matter. So, thank you all for tuning in to the final part of the Thomas Take Sports Podcast tonight. I'm Ryan Thomas. Tune in as I give more Thomas takes next week on Spreaker.com.